Welcome to a BEARable conversation with Jillian Seguin, Associate Wealth Advisor at IA Private Wealth. What did I do wrong?
I'm John Reyes at.
Did you put your face on?
I'm John Reyes at I. Hi, I'm John Reyes, Wealth Advisor at Reyes Group at IA Private Wealth. Simon, you got to cut that.
Start again.
As a young man, heard the sky's the limit. First thing first, I'ma break through the ceiling. One life jam, but it feels infinite. One life damn, then I better go get it.
This podcast is being brought to you by the Reyes Group at IA Private Wealth. That is made up of myself, John Reyes, a wealth advisor, and Jillian Seguin, an associate wealth advisor.
Hi, welcome to a BEARable conversation with Jillian Seguin, Associate Wealth Advisor at IA Private Wealth with the Reyes Group.
And I'm John Reyes, Wealth Advisor, IA Private Wealth at Reyes Group. What the Why are we having a hard time with this? One more time. 1, 2, 3. I'll start. My name is John Reyes. I am a wealth advisor at the Reyes Group, IA Private Wealth.
I am Jillian Seguin with the Reyes Group. I am an associate wealth advisor at IA Private Wealth, and this is a
BEARable conversation. Today's topic is going to be one that is, it's an accumulation of topics, and it probably is going to be one of our, I hate using the word plug, but it's a plug on our business. I often like to, and so does Jill, we like to have these become more open dialogue or having us discuss things that are more general in nature, whether it's global affairs or whether it's processes or understanding trends. But this one is actually going to tie in a few topics that we've talked about and kind of bring them in towards a how we do it here at Reyes Group. And the only reason why is not because we think that we're better than anyone else or we feel like our strategy, actually, I'm going to say that again. I don't think we are better than anyone else, but I do believe that our strategy and our approach to managing money is probably up there as one of the best that can be sought out. And that's not because of arrogance, but because of the amount of time and energy that we've placed into it. So we'll start with that and then we'll work backwards. Ours is very simple. Actually, it's on our wall. It's on my arm. And we are live by it. It's enriching the lives around us. I feel that any company that has a strong purpose statement can then always feel like they can build around and ensure that they're doing the things that they are driven to do for their clients. We support that with the service strategy success model, which again, as we've stated before, is an easy 3-step process that not only ourselves, but our clients and any stakeholders can understand what it is that we bring to the table. And why I started with that is the majority of people, when it comes to the area of finance, are often either closet anxiety or outright anxiety. And what I mean by that is there is a lot of moving parts when it comes to finance, and it can become very difficult to try to pinpoint exactly where you are in that cycle. And if you want to have expansion to that, we've got a whole series that Jill has launched on that in our cycle. Again, what is it called?
Financial Life Cycle blogs.
Yeah, that we have created. And then on top of it, it's milestones, events, life changes, and all of those come with a whole series of things. And instead of trying to cater to one aspect or another, we're trying to cater to the emotional connection to people's money. We try to cater to helping them piece together a plan that is going to help them feel confident, so it doesn't really matter what strategy, what stage that they're in. Okay, so knowing that we've laid that out and we've gone right to the answer of our purpose, backing up, what drives that is emotion. And I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about that because I think that will set the stage about how, maybe giving us a picture of how people think in terms of their association with money.
Yes, I will do that.
You know that every single time I've ever thrown something to her, go back to every single episode. If she doesn't agree, she first acknowledges, and then she'll go down her own tangent.
You've had an intro about this. I want to just have an intro about this too. Okay. Is that we're talking about how to find success in the face of uncertainty.
Yep.
And a lot of the times, the uncertainty is pertaining to the economy, the direction of our currency, global trade, all these things in the financial world. But the only thing certain in life, and we've said this actually in a previous podcast, are death and taxes.
Okay.
So there's a lot of uncertainty within your own personal life that people don't think about when they're doing their financial planning or their investment selection. It's always in the face of uncertainty in the markets.
Okay.
And so I think, what we're going to talk about in this is more so in the face of uncertainty, how it pertains to you, right, in life. And when you're talking about the financial life cycle, that's what those blogs really talk about, is the milestones in your life that may or may not occur, having children, getting married, getting divorced, having a death in the family, winning the lottery, how to set yourself up for that. Because those are all kind of uncertainties, right?
Yep.
Now, in the way that people view their finances, people are all different, but from a very general aspect, that was really talked about in the podcast we did on female versus male investing and how they really see their finances. That's the only place I see the differentiation between the haves and have-nots, is that women view their financial picture as a sense of security, whereas men generally view it as a sense of success.
Yep.
And that's really the only two differences I would say when people look at their finances.
Yeah, and I think that it's always difficult to illustrate to not only our clients but to any potential clients, is a lot of what Reyes Group brings to the table is intangible in terms of being able to quantify, right? You look at an account, you can tell what the value is. You can see the market, you know that it's up, it's down. You either have a death in the family, you have a birth in the family. You either have a divorce or you don't have a divorce. Those things are all quantifiable. Those things are all, to some degree, measurable. But when you have to talk about the emotional components around those things, or if you have to talk about the guiding principles or the ability on how to navigate that, now you're talking about a very difficult way to quantify value. And that is the art of finding a very good partner or advisor. And that's what we aim to do every day. And that's why I wanted to bring that back to the service strategy success model and our principles of why those are principles towards our enriching lives around us, and why that is where I spend my time as one of the people that is a protector of our brand, a protector of our culture, a protector of our beliefs, is that, if clients can understand our motive and what we're trying to do on a daily basis, then the rest of it just feels natural.
I find it interesting too that I don't even know all of the areas and aspects of people's lives just based on my experience that I can offer assistance or guidance on. I have a good friend who's unfortunately going through a divorce. And in a divorce, generally speaking, at least from her standpoint, is that the lawyer is going to walk her through this. The lawyer is going to provide her the instruction on how to divvy up. She's the breadwinner in the house, so divvy up majority of her investments, her finances, and how to make this divorce equitable for her ex-husband. And, she was taking that advice full on because that was who she saw she needed to speak to in order to get it done. She also was speaking to her accountant from a tax standpoint. And just off the cuff, she said, "Hey, can I just sit down with you and look at my finances and go over this? Because this is what they're suggesting." And when we sat down, little intricacies about how to divvy up the money and what forms were available to save on taxes when it's a marital breakdown, and how to maybe get this payout done sooner than later, other avenues of sourcing capital. All of those things came to fruition. And she looked at me and she said, Jill, do you offer this like as a specialized program? Do you offer specialized advice for people who are going through divorce? And I said, no, like I don't, it's not one avenue of giving financial advice. That is being prepared for the many uncertainties and the many milestones, or I wouldn't view a milestone as a divorce, but changes in your life that we have been exposed to.
Yeah, we can lean our experiences
right?
on it. Yeah.
That we're aware of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we are, I think, a big cog in that wheel of going through that, just to set our clients up again on the right strategy of how to maneuver this.
And I think that again, so strategy, right? So service strategy, right? The service component comes to, if I'm just paraphrasing, this is why we spent so much time creating this model, right? If I were to break down that whole, sharing of your experience, the service side became offering your friend the ability to listen, to be able to hear out. The strategy was the aspects that came out of it, you leaning on your experience. And then the success, well, is yet to be defined, but it could be driven from as simply as you feeling fulfilled for helping her reach a goal and her feeling like she's had it, and maybe there's an opportunity for her to become a client. But even if she doesn't, it doesn't matter, because as long as we stick to those principles, some people become clients, some people don't, but we feel that we've done our job, right? And so I think that's a really good example to illustrate. I heard a really good example about, forgive me for not remembering her, but she is a head of a major financial institution, wealth management in the United States, and she talked about her experiences about never having gone to business school. And what she had talked about in her chat was, when people go to business school or get an MBA, the reality is that they're focusing on case study, right? They're looking at a case study, and then you are then using your knowledge that you've gathered through school to be able to then help resolve whatever that solution might be. And sometimes it's right versus wrong, right versus right, and sometimes there's no real good outcome. Or you have those actual experiences. Now, I'm not saying you should go to business school or not, or you should work with somebody who has an MBA or not. All I'm saying is when you're looking at it, you want to really lean with people that have real life examples of how to manage and navigate. And that is going to be the way that you should navigate anything, right? I'd rather go to the person that, has a big knowledge in how to build a deck at Home Depot than I am going to be doing it from online, right? But that's just me, right? So there's lots of different examples like that, and I think that was the biggest push that we wanted to be able to share is, we talk a lot about these different individual situations, as I said before, in macro sense, or talking about them on individual, but sometimes it's good for us to come back to it and say, look, we do this. This is what we do day in, day out, and here's how we live our life. So I did promise that this was probably going to be one of our shorter ones, unless you had anything else that you wanted to add.
No, I think it's just really honing in on an individual and catering to that specific individual's needs.
Yeah.
Building a strategy that is customized in a way that it can pivot with those changes. And having a commonality of a single resource that fully understands you and knows you, your biases, your values, your morals, your everything, and that can work with you through those pivots is important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
John, this was really lovely. I don't think we joked at all during this one.
No, we did at the very beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As a young man, heard the sky's the limit. First thing first, I'ma break through the ceiling. One life jam, but it feels infinite. One life jam, then I better go.
This information has been prepared by John Reyes, Wealth Advisor, and Jillian Seguin, Associate Wealth Advisor for IA Private Wealth Incorporated, and does not necessarily reflect the opinion of IA Private Wealth. The information contained in this video comes from sources we believe reliable, but we cannot guarantee its accuracy or reliability. The opinions expressed are based on an analysis and interpretation dating from the date of publication and are subject to change without notice. Furthermore, they do not constitute an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any of the securities mentioned. The information contained herein may not apply to all types of investors. The wealth advisors can open accounts only in the provinces in which they are registered. IA Private Wealth Incorporated is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Incorporated operates.